What's up, guys? I'm here with more Granblue Fantasy Versus content. Today we're going to be talking about the tier list. I get questions all the time where people are like, hey, how good is this character? Who's S tier? Who's B tier? Who's good? Who's bad? And let's be clear, the game is still very new. The game has not been out that long. It's only been about a month, I think, since the Asian versions came out, and it's been like a week since the American version came out. So we don't know that much. This could all be wrong. The game is not completely explored yet, but I think it's fun to kind of get a conversation going and, make some predictions maybe, and then we'll see along the line if I'm right or wrong. So we can come back and review this after maybe 6 months or so, and we can all laugh about how way off base my tier list was. But we're going to be starting at the top and working our way down, and I'm going to intersperse some gameplay footage to hopefully kind of illustrate some of the points that I'm making. So let's start out. We're going to the S tier here. I think S tier character is Lancelot. I think Lancelot is potentially the best character in the game. He has quite a lot going for him. For one thing, Lancelot is very safe. By using his Rekkahs, he can pressure really effectively, make you scared to press a button because of the threat of the Rekka follow-ups. His Fireball is pretty amazing for getting in. He's really hard to anti-air because of his ability to teleport downwards. And he has invincibility that he can use on Wake Up using his EX teleport to get out of bad situations and potentially convert them into good situations. So he can get absolutely insane damage after some of his combos, even mid-screen. So just generally, I think one of the most well-balanced and powerful characters in the game is Lancelot. Another character I think fits up in this S tier is going to be Catalina. So Catalina is insanely safe. She has these long-range pokes, this strong fireball that she can really alter the speed. She has an invincible Dragon Punch that does not require her to use the EX version. Some characters, only the EX version is invincible, meaning you can't do it that often. But hers, all the versions are invincible, so that's pretty strong. Catalina is generally just like a zoning and poking monster. She has maybe the best normals in the game. Some of these normals have absurd reach, and her fireball is really, really annoying and hard to get past for some characters. And she can take back the momentum of the match pretty easily too, using her enchanted lands. She can use the EX version to get combos really far away from the corner. So extremely safe, very powerful neutral, completely shuts down characters' attempts to get in. Extremely powerful character, and that is why she belongs up here in S tier. Alright, next up we're moving into the A tier. The first character I want to talk about here is going to be Gran or Gran. People like to complain about this character a lot, and for good reason, I think. First of all, the boot is just absolutely absurd. This move, especially the EX version, they're just ridiculously good. They always feel safe on block. If you space it out right, you're going to be safe. A lot of the time with this move, or plus, you can start your momentum from like half screen away, force them to block, or if it hits, you can go straight into a combo. So that's nice. Similar to Catalina, he has an invincible Dragon Punch that does not require him using the EX version. So that's a plus. He's got some pretty amazing normals as well. One of the best sweeps in the game. Pretty long range and very hard to punish. He can whiff punish pretty effectively with that, as well as his standing heavy. He has a pretty strong fireball. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Catalina's, but it is really quite strong. So generally, Gran is another one of these safe characters, kind of like Catalina. Although he doesn't have the same range as her, he still can poke pretty effectively with his long-range normals and his fireball. Invincible Dragon Punch to get people off him. Able to start his offense using the boot. And once he gets you kind of closer to the corner, he can really be a whiff-punishing monster with his sweep, his 5H, stuff like that. And similar to Lancelot, he's able to get a ton of damage in anti-air situations, kind of similar to Lancelot. If you jump at him, you're probably going to get carried to the corner, and you're probably going to take like over a third of your life bar. So he's a dangerous character. He can do lots of damage. He can be very safe. He can instantly turn neutral into his advantage with a single boot. So that's why Gran is going here at the start of A tier. The next character I want to throw in here in A tier is going to be Charlotta. Oh my gosh, Charlotta is annoying. Everybody hates this character. First of all, her jump arc is just a major problem. She jumps so fast, and it's such a shallow angle that it is going to be really, really hard to anti-air her. Definitely the hardest character in the game to anti-air, and if you mess up, if she jumps in on you, she's going to be dealing a ton of damage and hurting you a lot. She can really do this annoying frame trap nonsense where you have no idea, you know, when's the block string going to end, kind of similar to Lancelot, where it's just really scary to press a button against her because she feels like she's always plus. She has an invincible Dragon Punch type move, and again, she is not required to use the EX version to get invincibility, which is nice. And she has this annoying mix-up tool where it's like you never know if she's going to go high or low. She can even go into throw and get a combo off it, which is very frustrating. She's hard to block. She's hard to deal with once she gets in, and a lot of times neutral feels like an uphill battle because of this short jump arc. Obviously, she does have some weaknesses as well. She can't really do anything from range. She is going to be having to close the gap in basically every matchup, so sometimes it can be hard, but once she gets close, it's an absolute nightmare with this annoying jump arc and these annoying mix-up tools. She's a major threat, so that's why I'm throwing her up here in A tier. And finally here, the third character that I'm going to throw in this A tier is going to be Faerie. So Faerie, I'm putting a little bit over here towards the has faults side because she does have some issues, but overall I think she's extremely strong. You all know that she's really hard to get in on. She's got these super long-range pokes that she can frustrate you with and make your life really difficult. GG is really strong. Once you start blocking it, she can go into mix-up mode and get a combo off it if you manage to get hit. She also has two really insanely powerful supers. First of all, this big energy orb thing is a huge pain. It always stays out there. You can't sort of interrupt her for using it, and it forces you to block so that she can get in and start doing mix-ups or whatever. And then also her install super is really powerful as well. It allows her to do some pretty sick mix-ups using her drill, her air trait. It also allows you to confirm off of stray hits anywhere on screen. You know, stuff like this. You can get big damage off of her long-range pokes and then get in and start applying pressure and mix-ups. Her one major issue, I would say, that makes her a little bit tricky is that she does get rushed down pretty hard in some matchups. I think against like Lancelot, against Charlotta, it can be tough. She has a Dragon Punch, but you'll notice that only the heavy version has invincibility. So there are some nightmare rounds where they get a knockdown, you try to Dragon Punch, and you guess wrong, they block it, they punish it, and then you can't use the Dragon Punch for a while, so then you have to take the next mix-up, and then you might just die. So there are some situations where she gets rushed down pretty hard. She's less safe, I would say, than a character like Catalina, but her control of neutral is still pretty insane, and she can apply pretty nuts mix-ups as well up close. She can be pretty hard to deal with once she gets the offensive advantage as well. So, Faerie, I think a very strong character. I would consider her top 5. That's why I put her here up in the A tier. Alright, moving on to the B tier. A lot of characters are going to be in here. This is kind of where I'm putting most of the cast, it feels like. We're going to start out with Percival. I think Percival is a pretty strong character. His range is absolutely absurd. He's got some of the longest range pokes in the game. He's got a very strong fireball that you actually can't like command dash through. It just doesn't really work. You just get hit. So he can control neutral pretty well with these insane pokes and with that nice fireball. He has an invincible Dragon Punch. Doesn't require meter. I feel like that's just something I'm going to cover with every character. It's just nice to have. Helps you out a lot when you're under pressure. He can keep himself plus what feels like all the time. A lot of his moves are plus on block. And then once he has you sort of complacent and willing to block everything because you don't want to get counter hit, he can start applying his command throw, which he can combo off of into a full combo. So that's pretty nice. Once he powers up and starts getting his stacks, he becomes a major threat. His fireball becomes like absurdly good and hard to deal with. He can get in from like a screen away using his sort of heavy lunge attack here, which guard breaks if he has stacks. So yeah, in neutral, he's a little bit slow and clunky for sure, but I think his coverage of screen space, his ability to stay plus on block for what feels like forever, and to mix you up with sort of frame traps, command throw mix-ups, I think he's pretty strong. I throw him up here in B tier. Alright, next up, another character I'm throwing into the B tier is going to be a newcomer, Gnar Maya. I think Gnar Maya seems to be pretty strong. When she's in the sheath stance, she has these super powerful long-range slashes. The medium version is slow, but it's extremely plus on block. She has an invincible dragon punch. Doesn't need to use the heavy EX version to get invincibility, which, as I've mentioned a million times, is pretty handy. But she can also start taking a momentum pretty effectively when she gets in. Her 2M is actually plus on block, which is very rare, I feel like. So you can actually frame trap opponents using her 2M pretty effectively, and if it hits, you can go into major damage. Also, her EX sort of flipping attack is mega plus as well. So when she goes into unsheath stance, she can pretty quickly turn the momentum of the match and start stealing turns and dealing big damage using her stance change combos. The one thing that kind of worries me about her and makes me think she might not be complete top tier potential is her mix-up game is a little bit weak. Like, yeah, people go to these sort of cross-ups a lot, and hey, if it hits, you get a combo off it. But I think the issue with that is, you know, people aren't used to using the block button yet. If you do the block button, that just protects you against both sides, so you don't have to worry about the cross-up. And, like, everything that she goes into off of that is minus, which is really scary. This slash, super punishable on block. This slash, punishable on block. Obviously, all her dragon punches are going to be mega punishable. And then this overhead slash is going to be minus, although not punishable, unless you space it super perfectly. So it's a little bit hard to sort of turn neutral into advantage with her without putting yourself at risk. But, I mean, her keep away tools are really strong. Her 5M is absolutely absurd. And she can kind of give herself plus frames at will, which is pretty effective. So I'm throwing her in B tier, and we'll see where things go once we have more time to figure out the character. You know, actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to move Gnar Maya over a little bit. Even though she's a little bit well-rounded in the sense that, you know, she has strong neutral when she's sheathed. She can get good frame advantage when she's unsheathed. But she does have, you know, some issues, I think, in terms of going from neutral to applying pressure and going for mix-ups. So I'm going to move her over just a little bit. And next to her, I'm going to put Matera. So Matera is obviously really hard to get in on with her projectiles. She can be a really frustrating character in some matchups. She can cover the screen space so effectively, and she can really quickly turn from defense into offense using her trait, which is actually a pretty hard move to deal with. Allows her to go for these overheads from pretty far away. She can do some pretty sick stuff with the butterflies. You know, she can make it really hard for you to get in, or she can use it sort of to apply mix-ups. So just generally a very effective character in neutral and on offense. So you would think, what could possibly, you know, be the issue that's keeping her from top tier? I think probably the biggest thing is she has no invincibility. Literally, like, in order for her to have invincibility, she needs to have full meter. And these moves are pretty safe jumpable, safe mediable. Her supers, that is, because they come out a little bit slow. So once you get in on her, it can be really, really hard for her to recover. She just has to take the mix-up. No ways to really get out of anything. So against characters like Lancelot, Charlotta, maybe Gran, if he hits you with the boot, you're going to have to guess. So that is a major issue. I also think she tends to suffer a little bit more against characters with invincible dragon punches because, you know, whenever she goes to this trait, they can just mash dragon punch and hit her right out of it. But characters without it, it can be really tough because they have to go to normal anti-airs like down heavy, which a lot of times you just get counter hit by her jump-ins. So it definitely depends on the matchup. I think there's some matchups where she completely dominates, like, say, versus Vasaraga maybe, versus La Diva, Lowe Wayne. I think these are good matchups for her. Maybe Percival as well. But there are some matchups that I think are really hard. Primarily Lancelot. I think she has a really hard time with that matchup. but I could see other matchups being difficult for her as well. Just anything where the character has the tools to get in effectively, and then she is on her back and she's going to have to guess where she's going to get hit. So definitely a strong character, but you're going to have to be good at blocking to fully take advantage of this character, blocking and breaking throws. Otherwise, you're just going to get mixed up to death by competent rushdown. But she's definitely strong. She's definitely fun. Once she gets going, she can be really effective. I just think she's a little bit matchup dependent. Speaking of characters who are really matchup dependent, I think maybe the king of all of them has to be Vasaraga. I'm putting him all the way here on the left because I think in a lot of matchups, Vasaraga can really go to town, right? Once this character gets in, he's so scary. He's so threatening with his ability to, guard break, get full damage combos off guard break. He can get massive damage in the corner, one of the most damaging characters in the game. Hard to block. He has an unreactable command throw. He has huge range on some normals. He has a pretty solid fireball. This all sounds so good, right? How is this character not one of the best in the game? Well, he's obviously very slow in matchups like Faerie, Matera. I think Catalina is a fairly hard matchup for him because he has to work really hard to get past the sea of fireballs, and then she can just invincible dragon punch as much as she wants to punish him. So it's a little bit tricky. There are some matchups that are hard. I think if you're thinking about maining Vasaraga, you might want a backup character because I do think that there are some that are really tough for him. Like I was talking about with Matera, I said that if you have an invincible dragon punch, that can help you deal with her trait, her little jump. He has no such thing. He has to hold that all day. His down H, a lot of times you're just going to get hit out of it. Unless you're armored up, you can get some armor on it. You can get some armor on his various moves, which is nice for getting in. But armor up, there's that downside of applying it, which is that you don't get a chance to get in and go for pressure. But yeah, I think day one, people kind of assumed he was the worst character because he's really slow. It's really hard to get in on, but he has a lot of tools. He can really keep you guessing. His jump S makes it a little bit easier for him to bait anti-airs. He can use EX command grab to throw you from super far away. He can make you guess once he goes into his stance. He's going to go low. He's going to use armor. This eats a bunch of hits, or he can guard break you and get a full combo off it. So that's pretty cool, too. So really amazing character if he can get in. Matches where he can't get in can definitely be a struggle. So I think he's kind of the epitome of a solid character who does have some faults. Alright guys, it's really time to start making some enemies here. I have a feeling you guys might be a little bit sad with some of the characters I'm putting in C tier, but let me be clear, C tier does not mean that they're a bad character. A C is a passing grade. These characters are definitely viable. You can get by with these characters. I just don't think they're as broken as some of the top tiers. So based on the process of elimination, you may have figured out that I think Zeta belongs in C tier. I think there was some hype for this character at first, but she ended up not really impressing me that much. Her fireball is pretty nice, but it doesn't knock down, except for the medium version. So, zoning, she can do okay zoning, but she does not have any invincibility, which is a big downside. She has this move, which has sort of an armor point on it, but the thing is, the follow-ups are all pretty minus or unsafe. I feel like against good players, it's pretty hard to use this move effectively. She has some pretty good normals. Her 5M is pretty amazing. But there's some issues I have, if you do a max range 5M into her charge attack, it doesn't combo. You can see it doesn't combo. The opponent can block in between these hits, and this move tends to be minus a lot, which is not exactly what you want in that situation. And yeah, you can do something like this. You can bounce away afterwards, but a lot of times that's just sort of the opponent's invitation to start applying pressure to you, because you are still minus, even though you move away, so it's harder to punish you. You are still minus in this situation, especially in the corner. It can be really unsafe, so it's pretty scary, I feel like, to be pressuring with stuff like 5M into lunge. Another thing that really bugs me is it's actually kind of hard for her to do big damage in the corner. She has this move, the sort of wall bounce fireball. She can combo off that, but it's actually somewhat hard to combo into this move. You can see there, that 5H didn't combo into that right there because I was too far away. It uncomboed, so she could have blocked it. so that's kind of a pain. And yeah, like she has this uppercut move, but it's not invincible, so I feel like you just get hit out of this every time you try it. You can try pressuring in the air with something like her air sort of lunge dive thing, which is nice. Sometimes you can beat out normal anti-airs with this if they're trying to down heavy you or something, but it just dies to DP, so that's pretty risky in a lot of matchups as well, I would say. I definitely don't think she's bad. She can get tons of damage off of her down heavy. She can get absolutely tons of damage in the corner, provided you are able to land her EX Fireball. So that is nice. I just feel like the lack of invincibility, the lack of sort of safe pressure, a lot of things that she does are not as safe as I would like. It just feels a little bit risky to play this character a lot of times, but in some matchups she can keep away really well. In some matchups she can play footsies extremely well with her 5M and her lunge. I just feel like it's not as consistent as some of the characters, and so that's why I'm throwing her here in C tier. Alright, next up down here in C tier, I'm going to put the other newcomer, Beelzebub. I will say this is maybe the character I have the least experience with in the whole game, so there's some possibility that I'm way off base here. This is just the impression that I get. I feel like Beelzebub has a really hard time playing neutral. His movement is really slow, so you're kind of like forced to be a more defensive player with him to a degree. His fireball looks really sick, right? Like, look how powerful this is. But it's like, you can just command dash in this game, so I feel like it's not that hard to deal with compared to what it would be in other games. I feel like he's a little bit relying on universal overhead for his mix-up potential. Because, yeah, he has like this big low, which most characters cannot go into a low this late in a combo, so sure, he can do some basic high-low there. It's just a little bit reactable, I feel like. If you're relying on instant overhead for mix-ups, to me, that is not as strong as what a lot of other characters can do. And a lot of his tools, I feel like, are just a little bit too risky. Like this sort of air dive attack, I just feel like is too slow. Characters with Dragon Punches are just going to DP you every time they see this. Similarly, his teleport, it's like they can just hit you. After you teleport, they can just hit you for free. So that's pretty risky as well. I just don't really understand how he's supposed to play neutral, how he's supposed to turn a neutral situation into a positive situation. It seems like he relies a lot on guessing, and that's not really what you want to do in neutral. I feel like you want to be able to play safe, and then once you get the advantage, then you can start applying the mix-ups and stuff like that. I just feel like he doesn't really have anything productive to do in neutral that doesn't really put him at risk. So we'll have to wait and see. I know that there are some players playing this character, like Fenrich I've seen playing him, so maybe there will be some sick tech that I'm unaware of that comes out. But right now, he just feels a little bit clunky, a little bit unsafe, and that's what's kind of bothering me about Beelzebub, so that's why I threw him down here in C. Alright, guys, I already know this is going to be the most controversial placement on this entire list. I know you guys are already writing your comments, so go ahead and finish them, hit the enter button, and you can tell me how wrong I am about La Diva being C tier. Okay, here's the thing. I mean, obviously, La Diva can run away with matches, you know. When she gets the momentum, it can be really hard to deal with because she's got, the command throws. She's got the lariat and the headbutt to punish you for trying to jump. She's got all these frame trap tools. I just feel like there's too many weaknesses. It's too risky. I think the lariat is a much worse move than people think it is. Like, you are putting yourself so much at risk by using this move. They can just crouch and on reaction get a full combo on you. Like, this is almost as unsafe as just jumping point blank when the opponent's not doing anything. I don't think people really recognize how unsafe that move is. I also feel like invincibility just eats La Diva for breakfast. She relies so much on these sort of strings where she's like baiting you to jump, and then if you jump, you get brought back down to the ground so that you can be forced to take the command throw mix-up. But invincible Dragon Punches just go through all this. They just bypass the guessing game. So a lot of the best characters in the game have invincible Dragon Punches, or at least some kind of invincibility to get out of these setups. So I feel like the risk is pretty extreme. She struggles against a lot of the strong zoners in the game. And yeah, when she gets full super, she can full screen, go through the projectiles. But a lot of rounds, I feel like if you're getting zoned out really hard, you're just not going to be able to build super consistently enough to use that tool. And a lot of stuff that seems really strong, you know, like body splash mix-ups can be neutralized by the block button, which I think is something that people weren't really accounting for in the early days of the game. So yeah, I think I'm more down on La Diva than most people are, which is why I know this is going to be a controversial placement on the tier list. And I mean, I just want to reiterate, similar to Vasaraga, La Diva can absolutely run away with a match. If she gets the offensive momentum going, especially if you're playing a character without a good invincible move, she can be really, really hard to deal with, and she can kill you really fast utilizing the mix-ups and the command throws. So don't underestimate the character too much. I just think that there's so many flaws that La Diva doesn't quite make it out of the lowest tier I have on this tier list, unfortunately. Alright, and you guys are able to figure this out by now. There's only one character left. Unfortunately, in my opinion, the worst character in Granblue Fantasy Versus is Lowe Wayne. I really wanted to love this character. He's really funny. I love his style. I love the fact that he calls in his buddies to help him out. I just don't think he's particularly good. He has a couple really major issues that I think prevent him from being a strong character. So first of all, he only has one special move that he can combo into, which is this sort of slash, tackle, rush, whatever you want to call it. And he cannot hit confirm into this easily. You can see this on combos, the light and the medium version. The only one that he can hit confirm without going into sort of an auto combo is the heavy version. That's also the only version that gives you a hard knockdown. You can see that this knockdown is techable. She can tech the instant she touches the ground, so you can't really apply good pressure after that. So you use the EX one because this is the only one that gives you a hard knockdown. It's the only one that you can combo into off of lights. And then now you just don't have anything to combo into for a while. Now EX is on cooldown, and let's say you land another hit, there's nothing you can do. You can't even do super. Most characters can confirm into their super off of lights. He can't because his supers are sort of these weird install things. I think the only thing this is really good for is like corner combos. You can do stuff like this, you know, and combo off it. I think that's the only major use. I feel like the mix-ups are not that real. You can spot dodge a lot of them, and you can react to the low fairly easily. His other super, which, you know, everyone complained about this day one and thought it was really broken, and I don't think it's completely useless. I think when people are like, oh, just spot dodge everything, I think they're kind of oversimplifying things because there are certain patterns and stuff that he can make you guess or at least take a lot of chip. But the problem is that super, when it times out, is unsafe. So if you're losing, a lot of times what happens is you activate super because you don't want to die. And then the timer runs out, and then you just die because you're vulnerable when the timer ends. So I'm not crazy about this super. Obviously, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the most fun supers in the game. But in terms of actually being effective for winning with, I think it is not one of the better supers in the game. I think it's actually fairly weak. Another major issue is his counter sucks. This just seems like it's kind of Arc System Works' deal in games lately. They don't know how to make characters with counters seem that strong. Like, besides the whole fact that, you know, you can't combo into counters, so yet again, that's another special move that he can't use for combos. These are also very risky. You know, you have to guess, or you can use EX. But I feel like the EX is not even that good. Like, there's so many situations where you land it and you're like, yes! But they can just cancel it into something and punish you, so it doesn't even feel that good to land, I don't think. This move is definitely strong. He calls in the robot, that's strong. Calling in his bros, that's strong. But the problem is, like, you use this, and then you get in, and it's like you have nothing left to do. So yeah. It really, really saddens me. I wish this character was good. I just don't feel that he is. Obviously, you can still win with him. I think he's viable. I think if you're a good player and you put in the time, you can definitely win with this character. It just feels like an uphill battle a lot of times, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Here's the final tier list. What do you guys think? Am I way off? Am I on the right track? Like I said, we're going to come back and analyze this after some months have passed and we know a little better. And we can laugh at how wrong I am, but I just want to reiterate, we don't know anything right now. This could be entirely wrong. And just because I put a character maybe lower on the tier list, don't think that means you shouldn't pick the character. You should pick whoever you're having fun with. This game's pretty well balanced. I think every character is totally viable. So pick whoever you think is fun and entertaining to play, and everything else will come from there. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.